Last week, the auto racing world had several frightening incidents. Some drivers walked away while others did not. Davy Jones was unable to walk away from this crash 7 weeks ago, but he's back on his feet and improving each day. Tonight on Speed Week, we'll join him on his road to recovery. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Speed Week. I'm Bob Jenkins. Tonight, we'll recap last weekend's wild and sometimes frightening racing action. Plus, we'll sit down with Indy Racing League driver Davy Jones, who's recovering from injuries suffered in a practice crash nearly 2 months ago. We begin with a preview of this week's endurance race at Sebring International Raceway in southern Florida. Marty Reed will be covering the pits during ESPN and ESPN2's coverage of the 12 hours of Sebring, and he has this update on the news on and off the track.
Bob, so far the big news at this year's Exxon Superflow 12 Hours of Sebring has been taking place off the track. New owners, Andy Evans and Roberto Mueller, have decided they need a name change. No longer will the sanctioning body be known as IMSA, but rather Professional Sports Car Racing.
I think the name says what we are, sports car racing, professional sports car racing. We're all professionals out here. Sports cars is our history, goes back to the 1923 Le Mans. So we think professional sports car racing says it all.
Well, it's significant because we want to establish a mark that our fans can use from now on, a mark that says what we are and what we came to show and what our product is. And sports cars that's who we are, and that's where we want to be.
What kind of reception have you gotten from racers and the public so far?
Well, it's been very, very positive among the racers themselves. We're just doing a survey here at the track to really be able to give you some honest stuff. Easy things to say if everybody loves it. Everyone's told me they have so far. I'm really happy with it.
I think it's going to be good. I think Andy's got a lot of enthusiasm. He's got a lot of ideas for the series, and I think that's getting a lot of people re-interested in it. And if that's what it's going to take, if it's going to take that to motivate them, fine. As long as we've got, I think, one of the best road racing series in America, and I'm speaking from a guy that's pretty new here. So in talking with some of the guys who've been around here a long time, they seem to feel that that's what this is, and they'd like to see it cultivated, and I think Andy wants to do that.
I have mixed emotions. I started my career and it was called IMSA. I've been doing it for over 25 years. But in reality, when you look at long range, I think this new group wants a name change. They want their own identity, and from that standpoint, I think it's probably a good idea.
News on the track, the hottest driver right now is Butch Leitzinger. He won the last 3 races of '96, plus the first, the Rolex 24 at Daytona this year. And if he'd started this quick last year, he may have won the title. He's brimming with confidence about '97. You expect to win this race?
I think there's no reason that we won't, except for just the racing, you know. The car, I think I don't have any lack of confidence with the car holding it together, and it's just up to us drivers to get the most out of it. No, we have a lot of good competition here, so it's entirely possible that we won't, but I don't think it will be the car's fault or the team's fault.
Just like Daytona, the number 3 Scandia Ferrari is on the pole again, but this time Yannick Dalmas was behind the wheel, and he did it with only 12 laps of practice.
We prepared the car very well. I learned the track, of course. I learned the car, and I appreciate very much the cooperation with the team, with the people inside the team, and why the reasons the qualify and the practice was good.
Bob, before we get out of here, I want to remind everybody 6.5 hours of live coverage of this year's 12-hour race on ESPN and ESPN2, and it all begins Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. In fact, the first 5 hours of the event will be seen on ESPN or ESPN2. Then we'll have an update at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Deuce. Then we'll bring you the finish at 10:30 Eastern back on ESPN. For Speed Week, I'm Marty Reed.
All right, thank you, Marty. Here's a look at some more qualifying times for this weekend's 12 hours of Sebring. Next on Speed Week, we'll visit with Davy Jones, a driver on the road to recovery. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway was a busy place on Tuesday. During the day, tire manufacturers Firestone and Goodyear tested at the Brickyard. Tony Stewart posted a quick lap of 2:14.485 miles an hour in the Team Menard G-Force Aurora on Firestone tires. Afterwards, Stewart talked about how his car handled and what speed it might take to win the pole at Indy.
The feeling's practically the same as what we felt last year here. You know, you can, by the time you get the car right, you're running full throttle all the way around, and you know, the similarities are pretty much the same as last year, so we didn't really notice a lot of differences. I'm not sure, I can't really project what a pole speed's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be faster than that. I would say it's going to be a lot closer to 220, but, you know, you really don't know. You know, nobody's been up in that range yet, so we feel like hopefully we have a lot left, and, you know, we got 2 more days here with Firestone, and we'll come back here in April and do our testing, so I'm sure we'll find some speed.
Later that evening at the Brickyard Crossing Golf Resort, the SCCA awarded its Dr. George Snively Award for Safety in Motorsports to longtime race doctor Terry Trammell.
This really means a lot to me, coming, as it were, from the grassroots, and also from such a prestigious predecessor as Dr. Snively. It's an honor that I certainly didn't expect, and I think needs to be shared with all the people that I've worked with that have made this possible.
One of Dr. Trammell's patients is Davy Jones. The 1996 Le Mans winner and Indy 500 runner-up had planned on returning to the Brickyard this May to improve one spot and win the 500. But injury suffered practicing for the Indy 200 at Walt Disney World Speedway in January will keep him out of the cockpit. Nevertheless, in the 2 months since the incident, Davy's made remarkable progress, and the halo he wears is about the only evidence of it. He's recuperating in Houston at the home of his father-in-law, John Meekum, himself a former driver and Indy 500 winning car owner. There have been a lot of rumors since the crash regarding the extent of Davy's injuries and his physical and mental condition. So I sat down with him to set the record straight. We can finally answer the question that everybody's been asking me, and I know a lot of people want to know the answer to. How is Davy Jones? How is Davy Jones? How you doing?
Well, I'm doing just great, Bob. It's nice to be sitting here to be able to talk with you and really to let the people know that you know, I'm just fine, and in a few months' time, I'll be 100%. I don't have much of a choice. I have to wear the halo for a minimum of 3 months and to allow everything to heal. And so, you know, I'm just trying to make the most of it, really.
So it's your hope that this halo is going to come off in a month, late April, something like that?
That's the plan. You know, it's just until you can have an MRI and all the doctors can look to make sure that the ligaments are healing the way they should, then it will come off, and I'll wear a J-collar or something for a couple weeks to build the strength back up in the neck.
So there was nothing broken, it's just a matter of stretched ligaments and tendons and muscles, is that right?
That's right. I don't have any fractures at all. No scratches, no bruises, no sore spots. I'm not even in any pain at all. You know, it's taking no medication, nothing. It's just really just a waiting game.
Let's go back to the day of the crash. What do you remember about the day, and do you remember anything about the crash itself?
Well, you know, the day was started out just fine. I remember going to some IRL drivers' briefings. I remember seeing the team, talking with them. I remember getting strapped into the car, and, you know, that's really about it. So if I look back on what I remember that I had a great team, a great setup on the car, and it was fast. So, you know, I don't really have any negative things to say at all. So, you know, for me, it's just getting back to 100%, and Team Gallus has just been super, and I look forward to continuing where we left off.
After being released from the hospital in Orlando, he spent 11 days at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis.
And then I went from there to RHI, which is the Rehabilitation Hospital of Indianapolis, which was really a great point because when I got there, basically I was in a wheelchair, and the left side of my body, the muscle mass had gotten a little bit weaker than the right side, so I had to relearn my balance, you know, just start building the muscle back up. So, you know, when I was at the RHI in Indianapolis, I learned to walk and to start moving my hands and my arms and doing all that to a point to where I could come to Houston to continue my therapy.
His recuperation has been helped by the fact that he's always been in good physical shape. but there are areas that need work.
Well, the left side of my body was affected a little bit more by nerve damage. So obviously walking around and just everyday movement builds up my legs quite quick and the rest of my muscles except my shoulder. So that's really what we're doing here is we're trying to tape the muscles or the ligaments back up where they kind of fallen down. And then within time, as we work on rebuilding the muscle, it'll just all come back up into place.
Therapy includes both occupational and physical, done at 2 different facilities, 3 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. I was impressed with one of his workouts. In fact, just watching him on a stair stepper for 20 solid minutes made me tired.
Well, they say that it takes, if you lay in a hospital bed for 1 week, it takes 6 weeks to recover. And I was there for 3 weeks, and I'm just on 3 weeks recovering now, so hopefully another 3 weeks I'll be running a marathon.
While all that exercising may be hard work, he's also found something that's a little more fun. Nearby Dave & Buster's Video Arcade provides an opportunity for him to keep mentally sharp and improve hand, eye, and feet coordination. This may not exactly duplicate what it's like driving a stock car on a road course, and your opponent may be only your wife, Mary Elizabeth, but a race is a race. Even though it's just a video game, it's quite obvious that Davey's determination to win is still there. Sometimes these things have a way of changing you. You have more respect or you have more feelings for something or someone. Has this incident changed you in any way?
Well, I don't think it really has changed me in any way. If anything, I think it's probably made me realize how close, family is to you. And you talk about, could it damage something as far as family, or have I ever thought about retiring? My wife has been right there by my side every step of the way, and she has never given me the indication like enough is enough. If anything, I think the motivation with her and with myself and the family is just that we want to get you back to a normal state, and the normal state is our profession, which is racing. So, and I feel I have a few more years left in me, and I'm still quick, and I'm going to pick up where I left off. I have nothing negative to think about it. So I have every intention to feel that if you pick up where you left off, you're going to be quick.
Is there anything you would like to say to the fans who have supported you and wished you well during your recovery?
They were just fabulous. And to get the faxes and the letters at the hospital, if anything, it just gave me more motivation to, to just get back as quickly as possible. And, it's just I want everybody to really realize that I am going to be just fine, and I'm doing great right now. And, I wish I could be at our next race in Phoenix, but it's going to take a little time, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the future.
Welcome back to Speed Week. The NHRA is coming off an interesting weekend. Off the track, Pontiac announced last Friday it is ending its association with 6-time and defending funny car champion John Force. Over the weekend, Force was still sporting Pontiac power and colors. However, the split has been confirmed by Pontiac officials. On the track, the 28th annual Mac Tools Gator Nationals at Florida's Gainesville Raceway were both fast and fiery. Here's Dave McClellan.
There was a scary moment during Saturday's Top Fuel qualifying. Marshall Topping's car went out of control at the end of the quarter mile and crashed violently into the retaining wall. Topping was sent to nearby Shands Medical Center for treatment of serious injuries suffered in the incident. On Sunday, Gary Scelzi's attempt to win the first 3 Top Fuel events of the season fell short in the semifinal round. A hole shot and then a late surge by the near lane's Mike Dunn ended Scelzi's elimination round win streak at 10. In the finals, Dunn was running side by side with Joe Amato until his front end lifted at half track. That allowed Amato to pull away for his first win of the season with an elapsed time of 4.65 seconds at over 312 miles an hour. The biggest surprise of the weekend took place during the second round of funny car eliminations. That's when Dean Scusa handed John Force his first loss since Dallas last October. It was Scusa's first elimination round win over Ford. Scusa lost to Al Hoffman in the semis, and Hoffman's opponent in the finals, Mark Oswald, smoked the tires at the start. Meantime, Hoffman was rocketing to the finish line at over 287 miles an hour when his engine exploded and triggered an inferno. Hoffman's car then made hard contact with the retaining wall. His roll cage and engine were on opposite sides of the guardrail when the car finally came to a stop in the shutdown area. Hoffman was also airlifted to Shands. He suffered a broken right arm and hand injury in the incident, a painful price for his 13th career win. Reporting for SpeedWeek, I'm Dave McClellan.
Thank you, Dave. Well, here's the update on Al Hoffman and Marshall Topping. Topping is still at Shands Medical Center. He's recovering from multiple fractures, but was upgraded to good condition on Thursday. Hoffman, who suffered a broken right arm and injuries to both hands, was released from Shands on Wednesday and is resting in his Umatilla, Florida home. John Force, who was at Hoffman's side since Sunday night, drove Hoffman home in his team bus. Now for some short track highlights. We begin tonight's action with last weekend's $50,000 Mini Gold Cup race in Northern California. Fast qualifier Randy Tyner led the field to the green flag for Friday's 30-lap preliminary feature and quickly moved out to an early advantage. With 10 laps to go, Tyner made this costly mistake in traffic, ending any chance of victory. That gave the top spot to Jason Statler, who wheelied his way to the $3,000 top prize. Tyner again found himself on the front row Saturday for the 40-lap finale. Statler came back to set quick time this night and started in row 2. Just before the halfway mark, Tyner was lapping Brad Furr when Furr hit the spun car of Steve Kent. 3 laps later, Tyner made the same mistake that cost him the race the night before, and again it was Statler who looked to be the beneficiary. But Furr's car had stalled on the backstretch, bringing out the caution. That gave the lead back to Tyner, who pocketed the $6,000 top prize. At the opposite end of the Golden State, USAC's Western States Midgets visited Imperial Raceway in El Centro on Saturday. Outside front row starter Johnny Cofer blasted out to an early lead of the 30-lap main event as others beat and banged their way through the first turn. With 12 laps to go, 3-time Western States champ Robbie Flock used the slide job to move around Cofer for the lead, but the 94 Series titleist battled back as the two raced side-by-side down the backstretch. But Flock held on, recording his 38th career Western States win. While the weather in California is conducive to racing outside, the racers in upstate New York are still confined to the great indoors. In heat race action, Gary Morton got his Can-Am TQ upside down, and he wasn't happy. This glove-throwing incident ended Morton's evening. Mike Stahl led the 20-car field at the start of the 50-lap main event, but it was Joe Payne who grabbed the lead from the outside pole. Payne had this close call while leading when Dave McKnight and Andy McElrath got together, resulting in McKnight getting upside down. Payne held on for his second indoor win in a row, giving him the points title. Now let's take a look at the CarQuest racing calendar. For all your auto parts needs, you'll find them at CarQuest. Atlanta Motor Speedway played host to some exciting racing action last weekend. A restart with 2 laps to go provided a wild finish in the APCO Easy Care 300 ARCA event. Race leader Mike Cicchetti missed his shift, allowing Harris Devane to pull up alongside Cicchetti. The 66 of Mark Thompson tried to drive in between the two. Meanwhile, Tim Steele, who was 4th at the restart, took to the low groove and passed both Devane and Thompson for the lead. Steele held on to pick up his record 12th career ARCA Super Speedway win. Mark Martin may have qualified 13th, but he once again had the fastest car in Saturday's NASCAR Busch Series race. In his drive to the front, he barely avoided disaster while passing pole sitter Tim Bender. Martin took the lead on the 46th circuit when he drove his Winn-Dixie Ford around the 38 of Elton Sawyer. The only threat to Mark was Michael Waltrip, who actually passed Mark on lap 120. Defending series champion Randy LaJoie ran as high as 3rd, but a vibration in his base motorsports Chevrolet forced him to pit late in the race. The cause of the vibration, loose lug nuts on the right rear tire. Waltrip's chances of catching Martin ended with 6 laps remaining when a tire went down on his Band-Aid Ford. Martin then cruised to his 3rd consecutive Busch Series win. He now has won 9 Busch Series events since his last Winston Cup victory in October of 1995. Martin, the 2nd winningest driver in Busch Series history, is not entered in this weekend's event at Las Vegas. Rookie Robbie Gordon started on the pole for Sunday's Prime Star 500 NASCAR Winston Cup race, and the former kart driver led 41 to the first 50 laps. He surrendered the top spot to Dale Jarrett, who would dominate most of the race. Jeff Gordon, who won 2 of the season's first 3 events, lost his engine on lap 59. His 42nd place finish dropped him from the series points lead. Jarrett had a scare on lap 190 when his Quality Care Ford slowed dramatically on the front stretch due to an ignition failure. Dale flipped to his backup ignition and promptly got his car back up to speed. There were some frightening moments during the event. At first glance, this incident involving Ted Musgrave, Rusty Wallace, and Ricky Craven didn't appear to be very violent until we saw the in-car views from Musgrave. And Craven. Neither driver was injured, nor was Steve Grissom. His Kodiak Chevrolet slammed hard into the 3rd turn inside retaining wall and then landed upside down while its fuel cell hit the outside wall and eventually ignited. His chassis was destroyed, but the roll cage was intact. After examination, Grissom's only complaint was of a sore ankle. The race was red flagged for 52 minutes while track officials made repairs on the damaged retaining wall. Dale Jarrett led the remaining 46 laps to pick up his first victory of the season. Jarrett led 253 circuits on Sunday and has now led 748 of a possible 1,321 laps. That's over 56%. The new points leader led a total of 755 laps in all of 1996. The Winston Cup Series has the week off. They'll be back in action next Sunday at Darlington Raceway for the Trans-South Financial 400. The NASCAR Busch Series is running at Las Vegas Motor Speedway this weekend. Here's a look at the top qualifying speeds for Sunday's Las Vegas 300. And we'll be back with more Speed Week in just a moment. That will do it for this edition of Speed Week. We'll be back at the same time next Friday night with previews from Darlington and Phoenix. That's Speed Week next Friday night at 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific on ESPN. Until then, have a great week. So long, everyone.